Hello everyone, I am back again with another video on Redfall. I've gone through the gameplay footage this time and I've extracted everything inside of it. And I'm also pleased to say that I'm really excited for the game now. I've got a good idea of what's coming up and it looks really good. So starting off with the premise, it is based in Redfall. Redfall is in Massachusetts and it is a sea town. And the first hint of this was the fact that there was a giant lighthouse in the town, and then later on it mentions that these vampires are super powerful. They've not only blocked out the sun, but they've also removed all of the oceans in the area. And while we're on the topic of the enemies, there are two main groups. There's one that there is obviously the vampires, but there are also cultists. And I think it's also worth mentioning that in terms of Left 4 Dead stylism, there aren't like hordes and hordes of enemies running at you. There tends to be fewer, but they're a lot tougher. And you can generally see this throughout the game with like the vampire scenes. Like there's only 4 of them, but they all seem to take a good few hits to kill. And while we're on that topic, when it comes to killing the vampires, you basically hit them until their heart glows orange, and then you can either do some sort of kill animation or specific weapons can just ignite them up in one go. And one that was able to do that was the shotgun, so you can use a stake animation to finish them off. Alternatively, you can fire a flare gun at them and just set them instantly on fire. Now, in terms of weapons, there was a fair bit that was given away during the footage. So the first thing is there are different rarities to weapons. I've touched on this before, but they range from orange, which I'm presuming is legendary, all the way down to plain old white. They have levels and they also have attributes that give them different abilities and perks. Each of the characters can carry 3 weapons at any given time. There are weapons that are associated with specific characters, but all the weapons are locked to certain characters. So I saw all characters using an assault rifle, shotguns, the flare gun, and also just to iterate again, the weapon slots aren't customized to a specific weapon type. From what I've seen, they can be anything. So I saw 2 heavy weapons being used, 2 assault rifles being used, also multiple like a flare gun and a pistol being used. So you can mix and match based on what playstyle you want to do, kind of very similar to how Borderlands have it set up. Which, if I was a betting man and took a guess at where they took inspiration for their loot system, it would be definitely Borderlands. So in terms of weapons that I saw, these are all the ones that I have noted so far. There are shotguns, there are assault rifles, there are pistols, there is a flare gun, there's also a sniper rifle. There seems to be a special type of weapon that looks like a tri-barrel shotgun as well. And that was pretty much in terms of weapon groups of what I saw. I didn't see any melee weapons though, for all those who are wondering about that. The only melee action I actually saw was in terms of attachments, which we'll get onto in a minute, and that's where the shotgun basically stabs through the heart of a vampire when that cutscene was available. Now, I don't know if you put attachments on the weapons or you pick up the weapons with attachments, but weapons definitely have attachments. I saw multiple guns, all of the same type, the same weapon, but they had different attachments on them. These range from barrels such as silencer to different iron sights. And there was like a red dot, there was also just a plain old iron sight, and there was also that stake that you can put at the end of your weapon as well. It would also appear that like your weapon doesn't always just fire standard bullets. I saw shotguns that were firing flare ammo. I don't know if their weapons have an attribute type, but that's what I'm guessing towards. And it would also seem to kind of depict the idea that each weapon falls into a group of either a light, medium and a heavy weapon. Now, in terms of where you get your weapons from, you can definitely pick up weapons from enemies, but I haven't seen any other sources. So no chests, no end of level loot or anything like that. At the moment, the only source I know of is picking them up. But we do know that there is scrap, and I am going to take a wild guess that you can buy weapons, so I'm presuming that there will be vendors at some point in the game. Just going back to the topic of vampires as well, so far there are 3 identified types of vampire. There seems to be the normal melee-esque vampires, a fired eye vampire, which is either a boss or a special type, didn't actually get to see any killing that it does, and the other one was called a blood bag, which is your kind of exploding enemy type that you've got to kill before it gets too close. Now, I've already spoken about this being a hero shooter kind of game where each of the characters have their own special abilities and you build your style around them. And again, very similar to how Borderlands work, and I'll get onto the talent tree a little bit later on, which will again fit into that kind of mold. So there are 4 characters that we know of so far. There have been 6 leaked, however we don't know the name of the other 2. At the start you got Jacob. He seems to specialize in long range stealth, has a sniper rifle, he has a bird sidekick that you can kind of send out as like some sort of attack, and he can also go invisible. So the next one you have Davinder, who's kind of this ragtag inventor. He's got a couple of really cool abilities. He's seen using flare guns quite a bit. The first of his special abilities is he throws down a pylon and everything around it gets stunned. And his next ability, which I'm presuming is some sort of ulti ability, is basically he puts down a pylon, it fires a massive beam, and anything that gets caught on it, especially vampires, turns to stone. So as you can imagine, quite a powerful and useful ability to have in your group. The next one is Layla, who has been shown quite a bit. Has a lot of purple colouring to her, including her weapons. She has telekinetic powers. One of them appears to be a big shield that she can produce in front of her, and also has the ability to summon what looks like a psychic telephone booth to elevate your teammates to new ground. The last one, and this is probably for anyone who really enjoys, having a sidekick or pet class, is Remy. She's got a robot that follows her around. I haven't seen any abilities that this robot does, but I do know that it has a machine gun and can help you shoot things along the way. But as for her other abilities, they currently remain a mystery. Now, there has been talk about each character revolving around certain specializations. These are the weapons that they've been associated with so far. So Jacob using sniper rifles, Remy using assault rifles. You got Davinder with the flare gun quite a bit. And then you have Layla using shotguns and also that big triple barrel shotgun. So whether or not it builds will feature into this, the talent tree, which I'll get on into in a minute, I don't know, but that is what they're leaning in all the footage with. Okay, so talent trees. So the first thing I can tell you is each of the character has levels. The more levels you have, the more skill points that you get to unlock and then use to put into the talent tree. The talent tree is basically a web-style talent tree. So if you've played Dead Before Daylight, it's very similar to that. You have a starting node and then it will branch off to other nodes and then you carry on from there. So when you start, that first point that you pick will be very important because it will kind of shoehorn you into a certain build for a limited period amount of time until you get more points. In terms of what these skill points do, that is currently a complete mystery, apart from one, which was called short range looting, which if I was to take a guess at would be, being able to sense loot closer or something, when you're doing levels. The other mystery to do with skill points as well is something called grave locks, which I don't know what you do. You can have up to 200 of them. Whether or not they're lock-picking items or allows you to undo talent points, I haven't got the clue or the foggiest, but it's certainly something worth noting and keeping an eye on because it might come up in the future. The last thing I want to talk about is just some of the leveling. So the levels are based around big tourist trap locations, as they called it, on the map. I think they are, you go into the area and that is your level rather than it being open world. But one of the cool things that I've seen is that there seems to be these weird upside down realms that you can go into. Whether or not that's something related to the late game or just part of the story progression, I don't know. But they look cool and they looked fun and a little bit funky and mind-bendy, and I thought it's worth mentioning. Anyway, that's everything from the footage. That's everything I've extracted. And if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. But as usual, as soon as I know more about this, I will do more videos on it because I am very, very excited for it. And I have high hopes that it's going to be really good. So have a great week. Follow for more and I'll be back soon.